Yo, call me Parallel though, I'm parking in your sides. Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the Game Skates. Today, and only today, we are here to talk about, that's right, Dragon Ball and Sonic. All the influences that Dragon Ball gave to our beloved Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, obviously, you all know the unfortunate news that Akira Toriyama has passed, and that just brought up a bunch of conversations online about everything he influenced in other media, right? And I figured today what I would do is just bring light to all the things about Sonic that were inspired by Dragon Ball, if not a direct reference, but even just the fact that it even exists in Sonic is purely due to the massive popularity of Dragon Ball. And of course, if you guys want more videos like this, please feel free to subscribe, support your boy, and let me know what are your favorite Sonic to Dragon Ball tropes. Let's start with the first and foremost obvious one, Sonic slash Goku. Paralleled characters and discussed a lot amongst each other. These two characters are very similar. While their overall life value is very different, Sonic just kind of wants to live in freedom, whereas Goku wants to become the strongest. He wants constant challenge. I think besides that, these characters are extremely similar. In fact, the shonen trope that Sonic was going for was inspired by the shonen trope that Dragon Ball created. This is the character that smiles in front of all adversity. He's the character that still believes in the villain at any point. You know, they don't just give up on a bad guy and just go for the kill. You know, they will fight them. They will live for that competition against them in a lot of ways. I feel like obviously Eggman and Frieza, while maybe not similar in scale to how much damage they've done, I would still put them in that bubble of just a character that the main MC kind of respects, even though they, you know, despise them and they don't like their actions. And not even though it's not the correct thing, it's something about these characters that has always been extremely similar, right? And obviously these characters being, you know, a little dumb, but also very cool and always the most beloved in the room and the one to charm all the characters. I feel like it is undeniable that Sonic and Goku are so parallel to each other, and I really do think that Sonic's personality was very much influenced by Goku. And there's nothing more obvious than that than super forms in Sonic, right? Obviously with Sonic we are just used to super forms. We don't get a crazy amount of them. In fact, we don't get a crazy amount of them because the developers have often said that they want to avoid the power creep that Dragon Ball has, but it's so obvious that they were inspired from it, from the original artwork of Sonic paralleling Goku's original pose there, to stuff like Super Blaze, to super different forms from, you know, the Black Knight Sonic form, Excalibur Sonic, or all the different character forms, or Super Knuckles, or Super Tails, or Hyper Sonic. I feel like the idea of different transformations was 100% a Dragon Ball inspired thing. And in fact, like down to just the color scheme, right? The idea of getting a gold color scheme for the character as an inspiration was 100% intentional, and no matter what any developer at Sega says. I mean, and to this day, we look forward to the most hype moments in Sonic being Super Sonic battles, right? And obviously we have incredible moments that deadass reference Dragon Ball scenes. For example, most notable in the recent game Sonic Frontiers, Sonic going through Giganto is an exact parallel to the scene of Goku going through Piccolo. Or you even have the night fight where Super Trunks cut Frieza in half, and you have that same parallel with Sonic cutting Titan in half, or Titan isn't, yeah, I think it's Night, sorry, in half, and it is the rawest thing. But you see these parallels of just the super form being the rawest thing, and always the thing that saves the day, right? And while in Sonic, they don't necessarily give them that many different forms, it typically stays to Super Sonic, it's still such an obvious big love letter to Dragon Ball, and always has been. And of course, one of my favorite parallels being the Dragon Balls and the Chaos Emeralds. Now, granted, these two serve very different purposes, right? With the Dragon Balls, they're scattered across the earth and they are able to grant you wishes, but with the Super or with the Chaos Emeralds, they're just kind of a power-up ability. Obviously they've got a lot more lore to them. They each have their unique attributes, apparently, according to even Superstars recently, but the idea is there, right? That it is 7 collectibles that ultimately are there to aid the hero, right? And while they did a good job of differentiating it, because you don't need the Dragon Balls to turn Super in Dragon Ball, you do need these emeralds to turn Super in Sonic. It is still such an obvious influence by Dragon Ball. Next up, we gotta talk about the character similarities, right? We talked about Sonic a little bit, but this is all over the place. I feel like the most notable ones we'd have to talk about are, one, Shadow. Obviously, Shadow is meant to be the Vegeta of the series, right? They are characters that are meant to be the sort of, not, and would you call them an anti-hero, rival to the main MC? And while again, their motivations are very different, Vegeta's ultimate goal is to to defeat Kakarot. Shadow's motivations are different, but come on, they are the same idea. It's the attitude character that is also raw as hell, that always maybe doesn't get the win at the end of the day, but has a bit of an evil side, but is still fighting for humanity at the end of the day. And their similarities have always been so cool to me. And you could never go without thinking, damn, like these two are just the same thing. Of course, we have our beloved Tails, who in fact actually recently the character designer for Tails came out on Twitter just to talk about and say that the entire idea behind Tails' is creation identity was to sort of give Sonic and Tails a Piccolo and Gohan relationship, right? You would typically think Tails would be the Bulma of the series in a way of just being the mechanic and the smart one, but they really do compare them more to Gohan. And in fact, if it wasn't for Piccolo and Gohan's relationship existing, maybe we wouldn't have Tails. You know, maybe that wouldn't have been a thing at all, or Tails would have been a completely different type of character. So really, Dragon Ball's influence there is another massive one, which is also interesting because when you think of Piccolo, you don't really think of Sonic, you think of Knuckles, right? Knuckles is very much the Piccolo of the series. You have the stoic character who has a bit of an attitude, who serves as a protector of the planet in some sort of ways. Like these two are also very similar in character styles, and it's reflected always so well in the series. They've also both fought the main character, and how could I even go with talking about character differences between Trunks? I mean, Trunks and Silver, I feel like to me that one has always been the most obvious, from the voice direction they gave with Silver to the idea of him being from a destroyed future. Like these two are very, very, very similar characters, and while I think again Sonic Team does a good job of giving them different motivations and styles, so it's not direct copy paste, it is very much influenced by. In fact, they have an old developer, was it a leak or an interview, where basically they had bullet points of what Silver was supposed to be like, and deadass one of the bullet points was just saying Trunks from Dragon Ball. Even when you think of specific attacks from Dragon Ball that have been influenced in Sonic, right? We talked about some of the Titan ones, but there's a lot more. I mean, you could even name the Ki Blast move that he does in Sonic Frontiers. You could even say the stretchy attacks from the Werehog are a little bit reminiscent of Piccolo. You obviously have Knuckles' moveset, who has always been influenced by over-the-top shonen anime. Even their fight in Sonic X is just very much reminiscent of Goku versus Piccolo from back in the day. Maybe not as brutal, but still. You even have one of my favorite Dragon Ball-like moments, which is the clash between Sonic and Blaze in Sonic Rush, which obviously has become iconic in Sonic in a lot of ways. But even that scene, right, that is the idea of the character clashing with a mash, is always been a staple of Dragon Ball and has been mega popularized by Dragon Ball as a whole. Even the characters' auras, right? Toriyama's work with Dragon Ball influenced character auras. So Sonic having the blue aura while Blaze had the red one, and different characters having their own different auras has also been a Dragon Ball influence in there. You could even get to like the smaller details, like the emblem that's so iconic to Sonic is not even from specifically Sonic. It's actually from Dr. Slump, which is Toriyama's original project. Tails' little helicopter spin is very reminiscent of Goku spinning with his tail. And again, at the time, this really wasn't a trope to be found anywhere else. So this idea, while it could have been random, still again feels influenced by that. And Mega one we found out recently is the original character designer and artist behind Sonic, who I believe is Naoto Oshima, went on a Twitter post to say like, well, Sonic's design wasn't directly influenced by Dragon Ball. The only reason they became an artist was because of their love for Toriyama's art. So who knows, man? It's one of those things of without Toriyama, maybe Oshima would have never helped design Sonic and our character would have looked completely different, or maybe not even existent in the way it does today, which kind of scares me in a lot of ways. A small one that I really love is how these special stages from Sonic 3, you know, that are around the shape, was actually inspired, directly Yuji Naka said this, inspired by King Kai's planet in Dragon Ball. You guys know how King Kai's planet work. It's like a small circle, but it feels like a flat surface almost with the way it's designed, right? And that was the inspiration for the hellish design you have for Sonic 3. So for that one, you can either blame Toriyama for that, or obviously, you know, you can say it as a blessing depending on how you you love those special stages. I feel like there are a lot more little subtle references and things that were influenced. And while, like I said, Sonic isn't necessarily a series that is entirely just a Dragon Ball copy, you can tell a lot of its DNA just comes from the joy and hype that Dragon Ball brought. That's a big reason why Sonic fans and Dragon Ball fans, I feel like, are always a flip of a coin, you know. And you're seeing this to this day even with the Sonic movies, when you have Knuckles and Sonic fighting and it's got the different auras and they're going back and forth with their punches. Like, this is just all stuff that was started and influenced and over the top by Toriyama's work with Dragon Ball, and I could not see this franchise being what it is today without him. I don't even know if Sonic would be where it is today without stuff like Super Sonic or the hype moments or how he even looks, to down to having Tails exist or Shadow. Like, I don't know what this franchise would be without Dragon Ball, and that scares me, but it also makes me so much more happier for Toriyama for giving, you know, more life to the series we love. That's gonna be it for me, guys. Let me know what are your favorite Sonic to Dragon Ball like tropes, and of course let me know what you love below, and of course I'll see you all next time. Peace out. I love you.